Ah, okay, I felt guided to talk about kindness today. Um, at least share some thoughts on kindness. So let's see. Okay, I see kindness as kind of the heart of religion. You know, that our religion is a way of remembering our oneness with God. And in that memory, in the opening to God's love within our hearts, that's how kindness flows through us to each other. It's also, our religion provides us a way of remembering our holiness with God. If we're part of Him, a part of God who is holy, then we are holy too. Yes. And everyone that we meet is also part of God. And His holiness shines within them also. Yes. So with God's help, we can look past the shadows of this world and see His light in each other. And that is how we rise above the shadows or problems of this world. I've spoken before about the forgiveness process, which is basically, for us to look on things with God, to ask to see things as He does, which enables us to see the Christ in each other, the holiness in each other. And as we do that, that changes our thinking in our minds, so that we can see things differently, which enables us to forgive. I went on the internet just to look up some quotes on kindness, because I thought it would be interesting to look at them. And there was a whole bunch of them. And I wanted to share a few of them with you. This first one came from Aldous Huxley, who wrote The Perennial Philosophy, where he looked at what's common in all the different religions of the world. And he basically found that both in formal religions as well as quote-unquote primitive religions, there's a basic set of ideas that's repeated over and over again. And he included that in his book, Perennial Philosophy. He also wrote Brave New World, which many of us read in high school. Anyway, he said that after all the research and all the writing that he's done, he says it's a little embarrassing, but after 45 years of research and study, the best advice I can give people is to be a little kinder to each other. Kind of distills all that philosophy down to one thing. Marianne Radmacher, I'm really not sure who she is, but I liked what she had to say. She said, "There is no small act of kindness. Every compassionate act makes large the world. As we work to create light for others, we naturally light our own way." Which repeats a kind of a theme from A Course in Miracles, as well as many other religious texts, that as we give kindness to each other, that lights the way for us, shows us the way to go. Okay, J.M. Coetzee, I'm not sure who that is either, but he said, "If we are going to be kind, let it be out of simple generosity, not because we fear guilt or retribution." In other words, the reason for our kindness is important. The motive that we have is important. Where we're coming from within is critical. Not just important, but critical. Rhonda Abdel Fattah, well, I think it's Eastern, said, sometimes it's easy to lose faith in people, and sometimes one act of kindness is all it takes to give you hope again. So rather than looking for others to do something for us or to us, to give us hope, give us meaning in the journey that we're taking, to heal our pain, it's the giving of kindness that lights the way for us and that heals the broken heart. Okay, this is somebody we all know, Mahatma Gandhi. He said, the simplest acts of kindness are far more powerful than 1,000 heads bowing in prayer. It's not about form, it's about what's in our hearts. That's what counts. Lao Tzu, who's an ancient Chinese philosopher who wrote the Tao Te Ching and is the father of Taoism, wrote these words. He says, kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness. Kindness in giving creates love. If a person seems wicked, do not cast him away. Awaken him with your words. Elevate him with your deeds. Repay his injury with your kindness. Do not cast him away. Cast away his wickedness. A poet that I loved, have loved for many years, Khalil Gibran, who's also from the Middle East, wrote this. He wrote The Prophet, I think many of us read many years ago. It says, tenderness and kindness are not signs of weakness or despair, but manifestations of strength and resolution. The smallest act of kindness is worth more than the greatest intention. The 14th Dalai Lama said this, "This is my simple religion. No need for temples, no need for complicated philosophy. Your own mind, your own heart is the temple. Your philosophy is simple kindness." Rachel Naomi Remen said, "When we know ourselves to be connected to all others, acting compassionately is simply the natural thing to do." And one thing I pointed out in previous talks is that opening to the oneness that we share, to that which flows through at all of us and underlies all that we see and are, by opening to that which joins us, when we do that, love naturally flows through us to each other. Richard Carson said, "Choose being kind over being right, and you'll be right every time." So often we get distracted into proving who's wrong and who's right, or who's guilty or not guilty. What's important is kindness and love. Mark Ortman said, "One of the most difficult things to give away is kindness, for it's usually returned." Which I like. This is the famous quote from Mother Teresa. She said, "People are often unreasonable and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are honest, people may cheat you. Be honest anyway. If you find happiness, people may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today may be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give your best anyway. For you see, in the end, it's between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway." A lot of great ideas. Coming a little closer to home, my wife Ann mentioned this. I've discovered that she and I chose the same verses to use in our talks these 2 weeks, without discussing it with each other. So it's part of that synchronicity. In the Bible, Jesus told us to treat each other the way we want to be treated. That's the golden rule. I think the quote is from the King James Version. "And as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise." In other words, treat each other the way we want to be treated. And I don't know anybody that wants to be treated in an unkind way. We want to be listened to, have someone see things from our position, our point of view, to understand who we are, to relate to us with kindness, to help us the next step on a path that we're taking, to be gentle with us, to be kind. And if that's what we want for ourselves, that's what we should give to each other.
Amen.
But to do that, we need to open up to God's love within our hearts so that it can flow through us to each other. That's how we are kind. Now it's interesting that, again, going across religions and philosophies, you find the same idea in Chinese culture in this case. The Confucius version of the Golden Rule, it's illustrated here. Zai Gong, a disciple of Confucius, asked, "Is there any one word that could guide a person throughout life?" The master replied, "How about shu," which means reciprocity. "Never impose on others what you would not choose for yourself." In other words, don't do to others what you don't want them to do to you. It's not quite as powerful, I think, as do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But it's close. Jesus also said, "And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. This is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is none other commandment greater than these." And notice that the first part is to love God completely. That means to open up to Him, allowing Him to fill our heart and mind, to be our guide, to be the light that directs us and guides us. And that, in my opinion, enables us to love our neighbor as ourselves.
Yes.
One leads to the other.
Yes.
St. Augustine, who was considered by many to be the father of Western Christianity, said this. He says, "Once for all, then, a short precept is given you. Love and do what you will. Whether you hold your peace, through love, hold your peace. Whether you cry out, through love, cry out. Whether you correct, through love, correct. Whether you spare, through love do you spare. Let the root of love be within. Of this root can nothing spring but what is good." Jesus, speaking to us in A Course in Miracles, expressed some of these ideas, which I've discussed before. First one is that God's love is who you are in spirit. Your spiritual self in God is forever holy. The second key idea is that love does not attack. Love never attacks. It extends itself to others. So when we're in line with or in harmony with the love of God within our hearts, that love will extend through us to other people. For love to flow through you, you must first forgive. And a key idea that goes with that is that we cannot forgive on our own. True forgiveness requires a change of mind and a change of heart that enables us to see the other person differently. And when we see them in the light of God's love, when we see them through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, forgiveness happens naturally. It's not something that we do, it's something that He enables us to do. We were reading this morning in our course group that our part in the process is just to be willing for forgiveness to happen. We don't have to know how it's going to happen. We just have to be willing for forgiveness to happen. And that when we have a little willingness, He will show us the way. Part of that then is to forgive. You must accept God's vision as your own. He sees only holiness. When you see with Him, His light will shine through you. In other words, His love will flow through you when you see with God. A year and a half ago, we went down to Temecula to attend a conference with Ken Wapnick, who's probably the foremost teacher of A Course in Miracles. And he said during that talk that kindness was the central message of the Course. It isn't about acting kind in spite of what you feel. It's about joining with another person through forgiveness so that you want to give to them. Kindness cannot be a sham. It has to be something we want to do. It has to come from the core of ourselves. It's not an act you put on. He went on to say that the love that you are hears another person's call for love. When someone is acting in a difficult way, or what seems to be a difficult way, they're calling out for love. Because their natural condition is to be love, be the love that they are. When that doesn't happen, when they're not able to allow God's love to flow through them, that means they're hurting and they need help. So any kind of difficulty we see in someone else is not something to punish them for, It's them calling out for love. If we look past the shadow, we can hear that call for love. When we respond to someone's call for love, we're not responding out of pity for them, because pity is not love.
No.
Rather, we're responding out of real caring for an equal brother or sister. Because we walk shoulder to shoulder, side by side, on this pathway we call life. None of us leads the other, and no one follows behind. We walk side by side and shoulder to shoulder. And it's as equals that we can give and receive as a family.
Yes.
The Christ in you sees the Christ in this other person and recognizes that you are one. A little bit more information on the Course in Miracles. Every difficult person or situation that you meet offers you a lesson in tolerance, kindness, and love. In fact, the Course says that the only way out of this world is by following or learning the lessons that our brothers offer to us. So when people that we encounter seem to rub us the wrong way, that's only because we haven't learned the lesson yet. If we can get away from the condemning voice of the ego and turn to God and say, what is your lesson for me here? What do you want me to learn from this? How can I love this brother? By learning the lesson that he has for us, we take a step down the path of relinquishment and freedom, or enlightenment. Responding with compassion to someone else requires you to stretch and to grow. Asking God, what lesson would you have me learn from this, helps you to shift your point of view away from being a victim or a critic, and helping you to open up to the lesson and to the love that you need to share. As you learn these lessons, you grow into something lighter. In talking about kindness, I'm not talking about judging other people's kindness. We're talking about what's in your own heart. All judgment is of the ego, which tells us we're victims and counsels us to attack. But attack heals nothing. Kindness is not about our perceptions of someone else. It's about what's in our heart. Or another way of putting it is, if you're not at peace in your own heart, then you're coming from the wrong place. So if you find that you're not at peace, that's a sign for you to turn to your spiritual guide within and say, I need help to see this differently. I need to see it through your eyes in the light that you bring on it. Please help me. Some years ago, I purchased the book, A Path with Heart, by Jack Kornfield, who's a Buddhist psychotherapist. And in the first or second chapter, he talks about the loving kindness meditation, which I want to have us go through this morning. It's very simple. But the Buddhists say that whatever the situation, we should respond to each other out of kindness and compassion. kindness and compassion are fundamental ideas of the Buddhist path, and the Christian path, and the Sufi path, and the Muslim path, virtually all paths. It doesn't mean that anything anybody does is okay. Rather, it speaks to an attitude, or coming from an attitude of love on our part. One thing that helps us to maintain an attitude of love is to remember that all of us are brothers and sisters here. And everyone you meet is struggling just as hard as you are. Since we are struggling, all of us, in our own way, are calling out for love. When you extend God's love to a brother out of real caring, both of you are healed together. As the Course says, you receive what you give. If you extend love to another person, you receive love in your own heart. Years ago, I used to work as a child therapist. And so I saw lots of abused children. And as a child, I was abused also. And one of the things that I experienced was that in the process of helping the children that I counseled who had been abused, the effects of my own abuse were healed. I received what I gave.
Amen.
Another thing about God's love is that it's always kind. I grew up in a church that talked about the anger and the anger of God. You don't want to make God mad, you don't want him to punish you, and had kind of a negative view of God. But as I've grown in my understanding, my current understanding is that God's love is always kind. It attacks and harms no one. Love does not attack. God does not condemn. Okay, loving kindness meditation is very simple. And it has 4 stages that we go through in applying it. First, you start with yourself. And then you apply the idea to someone else that's close to you, and then someone who's a little farther away. And finally to somebody that you dislike. And the idea is to open your heart to loving kindness. When we start by asking for loving kindness for ourselves, if you're carrying around guilt, self-condemnation, it may be very hard to let it in. If that's the case, be gentle with yourself. For many, it is hard to let in loving kindness. But let that be your intention. Let a little crack open in the door, let some light seep in, and see how you feel. Because you're a child of God, and you not only are loving kindness, you deserve loving kindness. That's God's gift to you. So what I invite you to do is close your eyes and go quietly within. And just kind of repeat after me in your mind, not out loud, but just in your mind. We'll start with yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. Let's repeat that again. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. Open to God's loving kindness. It's shining in your heart. Allow that love, His love, to expand within you and fill you, filling every room within your heart and shining through you wherever it would go. Now let's extend that loving kindness to someone that you love. Think of someone close to you that you care about. That person may not be with us anymore, but it still could be someone that you care deeply for. And say these words in your mind. May this person be filled with loving kindness. May he or she be well. May this person be peaceful and at ease. May he or she be happy. And imagine the loving kindness within your heart extending and shining from you to that person. Send it to them as a gift. Release it. Let it go. May this person be filled with loving kindness. May he or she be well. Make that your intention. May this person be peaceful and at ease. May he or she be happy. Now let's extend the same idea to someone who's somewhat distant from you. Possibly a leader of our country or military or a business person, a leader of this church, whoever. And in your mind, say, may this person be filled with loving kindness. May he or she be well. May this person be peaceful and at ease. May he or she be happy. You're blessing this person. Send your blessings to someone distant from you who needs it. Let it be your gift to that person. And finally, let's choose someone that you need to forgive. Someone that you're irritated with. Picture that person in your mind. Remember that that person is part of the Christ with you. And then say with sincerity, may this person that I have difficulty forgiving be filled with loving kindness. May he or she be well. May he or she be peaceful and at ease. May he or she be happy. And wish that person all of those qualities. Extend your love, the light within you, to that person. Allow God's love to flow through you, to her or him. May this person be filled with loving kindness. May it fill them up. May he or she be well. May he or she be peaceful and at ease. May he or she be happy. And as you open your heart to loving kindness, feel the freedom and the joy that that brings to you. And know that we share in it with you because our minds are joined. And so it is. Namaste.